Okay, so again, last meeting, we started discussing the research methodology. So this is after your introduction. So di ba, the last part of the introduction is the review of related literature. So on the next page, you will start with the research methodology. So last meeting, we discussed this one already, actually until the research designs, but I guess we are not yet done with it. So do not forget that when you say research design, it's actually the methodology that you will utilize in your study. Okay. And then we have classifications. So you have to evaluate your study and identify what type of research design are you going to use in your study. So pwede siyang based on time. So you will have to choose between retrospective and prospective. So when you say retrospective, di ba, the advantage of this is the data is already available. You don't need to collect it. All you need to do is to um, analyze and interpret the existing data regarding your problem. And then prospective, most of the studies are actually prospective, which means the researcher is going to collect the data at the present time, and then the study will move forward in the future. Or you may use this classification. This is based on purpose. So if your purpose is just to describe your sample or your population or a certain phenomenon, then it is called descriptive design or descriptive research. So you don't need to do intervention here. You have no control when you say descriptive design. So from the name itself, purely describing your population or sample or any situation or problem you have in your study. Or your study may be analytical. When you want to know the factors contributing to your study or your variables, then it's analytical. So you may choose between case control and cohort studies. When it is case control studies, do not forget class na um, your study begins here, meaning there is identification of your population, and then you may have to classify them into two groups. We have the cases and the controls. So when you say cases, ito yung mga parts or mga samples sa study mo na naka-acquire na ng disease na gusto mong studyhan. And then yung hindi naka-acquire ng disease doon sa control. And then your study will go backwards, meaning you will have to identify their exposures para ma-identify mo yung mga risk factors. Bakit nagkaroon sila ng sakit or bakit hindi sila nagkaroon ng sakit. That's case control. And then the other one is called cohort study. So, pwede siyang retrospective, pwede siyang prospective, but the grouping is according to the risk factors. Meaning, kabaliktaran siya ng case control. So, you have your sample, i-group mo sila. Ito yung mga nagkaroon ng exposure sa ganitong factor. And then the other one, ito yung hindi nagkaroon ng exposure. And then you have to follow your samples. Kung pagdating ba ng certain period of time, magkakaroon sila ng sakit or hindi sila magkakaroon ng sakit. That's cohort study. And then, pwede nyo ding i-classify yung research ninyo based on investigator orientation. So, if that's experimental, meaning you have to do intervention doon sa variables ninyo. So, kailangan, the most important thing about experimental research design is randomization. If walang randomization, then it's called quasi-experimental design. So, kailangan mag-manipulate kayo, like inside the laboratory, may minamanipulate kayo sa inyong variable. May intervention na gagawin, like gagawa kayo ng new drug or gagawa kayo ng new methods sa diagnosis. That's experimental, but you have to make sure na merong randomization for you to be able to call it true experimental research design. So, pwede ding observational. So, sa observational, no intervention. Hindi din siya mahulog na descriptive kasi meron kasing control when it comes to observational design. So, under this, yun yung dalawang na-mention natin kanina, the cohort and the case control. And then the last classification we have based on question orientation. So most of the researches are actually classified according to this type of classification. You have to choose between quali or quanti. Or you may have the mixed method design. So last time we described what is a qualitative research. So do not forget that you don't have a numerical data when it comes to qualitative research. Again, wala kang numerical data. So this is data free. You don't also have hypothesis when it comes to qualitative research design. And this is most likely based on experiences. So all you need to know is the experience of your respondents. Therefore, there is no need to generalize since we cannot generalize experiences. We have types of qualitative research. We have ethnographic if you want to study the tradition, the culture, or beliefs, norms of a certain group of people or a tribe, or an ethnic group, ganon. You cannot quantify this, so this is again under qualitative research. So most of quali research is actually under phenomenological, wherein you want to study true to life experiences of your respondents. So this is also hypothesis free again, since you cannot actually generalize, or I mean, you hindi mo din ma-quantify yung iyong data when it comes to experiences. And then case study, if you want to have an in-depth investigation, like you want to study COVID-19 and then you want to have an in-depth investigation about COVID-19, magko-collect ka ng different cases and then ipagsasama-sama natin sila until maka-arrive tayo ng conclusion about sa COVID-19, if that is your topic. And then we have narrative. So historical researches fall under narrative. The most important thing about narrative researches is the chronological order of things. So kung gusto mo mag-study og history of something. So ito yung bagay na research design. Wait lang ha. Okay. So another thing, if your study can be quantified, meaning your data is numerical, so it will fall under quantitative research design. This time, pwede kang makabuo ng generalization or inferences or even projections kasi meron kang numeric na data. At the same time, meron kang hypothesis here. So, pwede siyang dalawa. Pwede siyang descriptive, pwede siyang experimental. So, last time, nag-discuss tayo ano yung mga types of descriptive researches natin. So, pwedeng survey. So, yung aim ng survey is actually to collect a limited data from a relatively large number of samples or number of respondents. So, pwede siyang descriptive survey if you are the one naggagawa ng inyong questionnaire. But if your questionnaire is standardized, meaning meron na talagang existing questionnaire and you just have to adapt it, that is called descriptive normative survey. Now, if your study is developmental study, like you want to know the development of a group of people when it comes to their like research skills or mathematics skills or like their skills na kailangan yung matutunan sa inyong course as MedTech, Medical Technology students. So then that will fall under developmental studies. Pero 'di ba na differentiate natin ito last time na we cannot actually do longitudinal studies sa inyo kasi when you say longitudinal, you will have the same set of samples and then you have to follow them over time. So if you want to know their skills, baka hihintayin pa natin silang graduate before natin ma-complete yung study natin. But you may do cross-sectional study wherein you will have different set of samples and then you will just compare their skills or their abilities. Like you want to compare the skills of a first year student to a fourth year student. So pwede nang hindi hintayin, pwede nang hindi follow yung sample or your respondents over time. Next, we have assessment or evaluation. So if you want to evaluate something, like the services being offered by like sa hospital laboratory, so that will fall under the descriptive evaluation or the descriptive assessment na study. Comparative class, if you want to compare variables, so meron ka ditong question sa ano mo, doon sa statement of the problem mo na, is there a significant difference? Pag lumabas yan sa statement of the problem mo, then your research may be descriptive comparative research. Ayan. Next, if like ang question sa statement of the problem mo is there a significant relationship? So you are looking for the relationship of between your variables, that will fall under descriptive correlational research. And then the last one, we have the last type of descriptive research here, we have the follow-up study. So example is a tracer study. Pag ginawa nyo itong tracer study class, ang example nito is a tracer study of the BS Medical Technology graduates from year 2015 to 2020. So meaning magpa-follow up ka, ano na nangyari doon sa mga graduates natin from 2015 to 2020, nakapasa na ba sila sa board exam? Kung nakapasa na sila sa board exam, nagtatrabaho na ba sila ngayon? Kung nagtatrabaho na, saan sila nagtatrabaho? Private ba? Public ba? Or sa hospital ba? What do you call this? Kung sa hospital ba sila or sa isang like stand-in na diagnostic center, ganon. So that's follow-up study or we call it tracer studies. So most of the time, yung gumagawa ng tracer study is actually yung faculty. Ginagawa ito ng faculty to know kung asan na yung mga graduates and then the employability rate of the graduates, like sa GSD-MSFI, ano ba yung rate ng employability ng mga graduates natin. So most likely again, ang nagkakandak ng study nito is yung faculty. Class, do you have questions sa wait lang, sana tayo. Yan, descriptive design or any research designs. Like you want to clarify something or you want to know kung ano ba talaga ang research design na gagamitin niyo sa paper ninyo. Wala? You don't have questions about this? Okay? So kung walang question, let's continue. We have the experimental research. Kasi I believe merong isang group ata na magfo-fall yung research ninyo under this one. So pag sinabing experimental research class, this is future-oriented kasi you will be collecting your samples and then you will follow it over time. Ita-test niyo pa siya. Kaya sa future-oriented. And you have hypothesis here. So do not forget when you say hypothesis, it's an educated guess or a tentative solution to your problem. You can actually easily identify experimental research just by looking sa title. You will see there the independent and the dependent variables. So, di ba, when you say independent variables, these are being manipulated in the study, and when you manipulate the independent variable, it will result to an outcome, syempre, and then that will fall under the dependent variable. So you will see the efficacy of your um, treatment na ginawa based on the effect sa dependent variable. So this is another definition of an experimental research. So, syempre, it's an objective, systematic, controlled investigation. Yung purpose natin is to predict and control phenomena and examine the probability and causality among selected variables. So the advantage actually of doing an experimental research is you will be establishing the cause and effect relationships of your variables. So, makikita mo yung efficacy ng iyong gagawin na intervention or treatment when you conduct experimental research. But what's the problem? What's the disadvantage, or what are the disadvantages of doing this kind of research? First, we have artificiality. Like if you want to make a drug class, you will have to test your drug to an artificial na model. Like you cannot really give it directly to a human being, since that is unethical. So we will have to do it artificially using animal laboratory models, or some of you will do it in vitro. So, di ba in vitro, it's using a test tube or laboratory apparatus para makita mo yung effect ng ginagawa mo na intervention. So, that's artificiality. Next, the next one is we have the feasibility. Some experimental research are not actually feasible. Like, first, the budget of the researcher. Remember, when you do an experimental research, it will cost you a lot. At the same time, the time. So, since this is an undergraduate research, meron kayong parang deadline. So, kapag medyo complicated yung research na gagawin ninyo, baka hindi kayo umabot sa deadline, and yung effect nun is hindi kayo makagraduate on time. At the same time, may mga gusto tayong i-conduct na research pero hindi siya possible kasi wala tayong equipment. Like sa school, hindi tayo kompleto when it comes to laboratory equipment, so hindi feasible yung research na gagawin. Or meron talagang research class na walang available na procedure. Hindi natin magawa-gawa kasi wala tayong makitang research protocol na pwedeng sundin para makuha natin yung desired natin na outcome. Yan, that's feasibility. And then another one, it's unethical. So, nasabi ko kanina, if we cannot give the intervention directly to a human being, then we will use animal laboratory models. But the problem is, it is actually still considered unethical. Since remember, yung mga animals natin, meron din silang kanilang rights. And at the same time, kapag sa animals natin, class, nag-induce tayo ng sakit. Like yung animals natin, gagawin nating diabetic. So nag-induce tayo ng sakit doon. After the study class, we are obliged to do euthanasia. So kailangan kasi natin silang patayin after. So meron tayong mga ethical considerations sa research. So ito yung mga disadvantages of doing experimental research. But nonetheless, experimental research are very important, especially nowadays that we are looking for treatment like sa COVID-19 or even vaccines. Yon. Kasi pag Pag naghanap ka ng vaccine, pag naghanap ka ng treatment, so merong intervention na gagawin doon. Kaya mag-fall talaga siya under experimental research. So do not forget class na yung simplest experimental research design, meron tayong ito, letter A, meron siyang at least 2 variables. So we have the independent variable and the dependent variable. So dalawang box lang yan. Pag ginawa nyo yung inyong conceptual framework, dalawang box lang ito. Wait, let me write sa screen. Again, pag ginawa nyo itong conceptual framework nyo, dalawang box lang yan. And then take note of the arrow. So no need to use yung arrow na parang ganito ha. Yan, hindi natin yan ginagamit sa research. So this one, the simple arrow going to the right. So you will have to place independent variable here. Sa labas nyo yan ilalagay. And then dependent variable here. Dependent variable. So ganito nyo siya gawin, yung inyong conceptual framework. And then sa loob ng box, dito nyo syempre ilalagay yung independent variables ninyo. And then dito yung dependent, yung outcome. Then lalagyan nyo, like if this is your figure 1, so figure 1 siya. And then conceptual framework of the study. Yan yung kanyang magiging title. Okay? So ito yung simplest natin na conceptual framework if your study is experimental research. Actually, sa descriptive na research, this is also the simplest na conceptual or paradigm na framework ng study. You will just have the independent and the dependent variable. So do not forget class na dependent variable is most likely the outcome of the study. So yun yung ilalagay nyo dyan inside the box. If your study is an experimental research, like lagay nyo creatinine level. That's the dependent variable kasi yun yung magiging result when you manipulate your independent variable. Do not forget to write the unit. So ano ba yung unit na ginagamit natin when we measure the creatinine level? So milligram per deciliter ba or any other unit? Ilagay niyo siya. Next, we have two groups of participants when it comes to experimental research design. At least two groups. So we have the control and the experimental group. So dalawa yan. Kailangan may control ka talaga and then yung another group, yun yung bibigyan nyo ng ginagawa mo na new intervention. Actually, ang ginagawa natin sa experimental research design, tatlong grupo actually. We have the experimental group, ang bibigyan nyo ng bagong intervention na ginagawa. And then number 2, positive control group. Ito yung bibigyan naman natin ng mga existing na intervention. And then the last one, we have the negative control group. So ito yung parang placebo, parang wala naman siyang effect. This will be utilized lang to avoid biases sa study. So negative control. So pwedeng wala kang nilagay or lalagyan mo siya ng something na sure kang walang effect like water, kung wala siyang effect doon sa tinetest mo. So yun yung maging negative control group mo. So that's these are the variables and the groupings in the experimental research design. So what are the characteristics of an experimental research design? So syempre this is numeric since it is under quantitative. Sa research design nyo lagay nyo siya, this study will utilize a quantitative through experimental research design. Yun yung isusulat natin. Again, quantitative experimental research design. Most likely limited yung and then limited to small samples tayo when it comes to experimental research design. Hindi natin kailangan ng maramihan na sample. Hindi siya kagaya ng descriptive na pag nag-interview sila, nagpa-answer sila sa questionnaire nila, they will require a lot of samples to do that. Pero ito, small samples lang tayo. So, like kung gagamit kayo ng animal laboratory models, konti lang, mga nasa 12, 15, 20. So, hindi naman ganun kadami na abot tayo ng 100 laboratory animals pag nag-conduct tayo ng testing. But this is labor intensive. Marami tayong gagawin inside the laboratory pag ginawa natin. Okay, so do not forget these elements para matawag siya na true experimental design. So first, manipulation, and that pertains to the manipulation of the independent variable. So iti-test natin yung independent variables, and then do not forget that you have to have a control. Dapat may control group talaga, whether it is a positive control group or a negative control group. And then the most important thing is randomization. So sa randomization, you have to select your samples randomly. Randomly ha, hindi pwede na mamimili ka na yung lahat ng lalaki, yun lang talaga ang sisasali mo sa research mo. So, pag lahat ng lalaki, nawalan na ng chance yung mga babae. So, ganun yung nangyari. So, wala nang randomization doon, and hindi mo na siya matatawag na true experimental design. Okay, walang minimum na sample sa experimental. Actually, meron tayong minimum kasi para ma-run natin siya sa statistics. Like kung gagamit tayo ng SPSS, kapag konti masyado yung ating samples kasi, hindi na siya babasahin ng SPSS. So, kailangan, ang ginagawa nila, at least 3 trials yung gagawin para again, ma-run siya sa ating SPSS. So, mga 3 samples pag sinabi mong 3 trials. Yan. Yan yung ginagawa. So, I hope that is clear. Sige. So, example of a true experimental is this one. So, a medical doctor would like to introduce a new drug that will influence the cure of typhoid fever. So, di ba, this is caused by a bacteria. So, kung gagawa tayo ng new antibacterial agent, ayun, yun yung study na ito. So, the doctor will have to use 2 groups of patients using an experimental design with the control group. So, ang control group niya dito is bibigyan niya ng ordinary drug. And when you say ordinary drug, ito yung drug na existing na sa market and proven na na pwedeng gamitin for typhoid fever. Yan. And you have another group, the experimental group using the new drug na gustong i-test ng researcher, which is a medical doctor. So again, this is an experimental research design. Meron siyang dalawang grupo, the control group and the experimental group, and we have to assume na magkakaroon ng randomization pag-conduct niya ng study para true experimental research design talaga siya. Now, sa experimental research design class, meron din tayong specific pa na mga experimental designs. So, madudugtungan yung ating research design. So, magiging ganito na siya. The study will utilize a quantitative true experimental research design specifically. So, lagyan natin ng specific na design. So, ano ba yung mga specific experimental designs na pwede nating gamitin? So, the first one is called pre-experimental design. Actually, ito, hindi mo ito matawag na true experimental. So, gagawin natin yung design yun na quantitative experimental. Tanggalin mo yung word na true if it's a pre-experimental design. So, meron tayong, again, 4 na specific designs under this. We have the one-shot case study, single group pre and post-test design, the static group comparison, and the parallel equated two-group design. So pag sinabing one-shot study, you will just have one group. So again, hindi siya ma-fall under sa true experimental research design kasi one group lang yung iyong sample. And ano ang gagawin mo sa group mo? You will just have to give the treatment, and then after the treatment, you will conduct the post-test. Kaya one-shot case study. Walang control, diretso na bigay ang intervention and diretso test. That's one-shot case study. So you have to evaluate your study if it's a one-shot case study. Or pwede din siyang single group pre and post-test. So isang grupo pa rin, wala ka pa ring control, isang grupo lang talaga yung ite-test mo. But anong kaibahan nito ng one shot? Meron kang ikakandak na pre-test. So pre-test muna, and then ibigay mo yung treatment, and then you will do the post-test. So the difference between the results of the pre-test and the post-test will determine if your treatment is effective or not. That's single group pre and post-test. And then you have here the static group comparison. So, this time meron ka ng dalawang grupo, pero ganito yung gagawin. This is based on experiences or knowledge about a certain intervention or treatment. So yung samples mo dito, i-group mo into two. The first group, these are the samples na may knowledge or merong exposure doon sa treatment or sa intervention. And then another group na walang experience, walang knowledge, or walang exposure sa intervention ninyo. So yun lang, dalawang grupo, and then i-differentiate yung effect noon para ma-establish na yung treatment talaga meron talaga siyang effect kasi merong difference between the result doon sa dalawang grupo. Sa grupo na merong intervention and sa grupo na walang intervention. So, baka mag-ask kayo, ma'am, bakit hindi siya nasali doon sa true experimental group? Na meron ka namang dalawang grupo dito. Pwede naman yung isang grupo mahulog siya na control. Pero take note class na walang na-mention here na randomization. Walang randomization here. So kapag walang randomization, hindi talaga siya true experimental research design. Another thing also, the parallel equated two-group design. So meron ka rin pa ring experimental group tapos control group dito sa kabila. And then magkakandak ka ng pre-test sa dalawa, kaya lang yung intervention na gagawin ay magkaiba. So yung isa ay magre-receive ng process method. Ito yung bagong intervention na gagawin, gustong i-discover, and then the other one will receive the traditional method. So when you say traditional method, ito na yung existing natin, like kung sa drugs, existing drugs natin, effective na siya, or kung sa inyo, existing na ng method of diagnosing a certain illness. Ayan. And then afterwards, magkakandak tayo ng post-test. But then again, no randomization here, so this is not a true experimental research design. Okay, so that's, again, we call this silang apat. We have here pre-experimental design. That is not a true experimental research design. Kung gusto niyong true experimental design, pwede tayong mamili sa tatlo. We have the pre- and post-test control group, the Solomon for group design. And the last one, we have the post-test only control group. So ano yung pinagkaiba nilang tatlo? So we have here the first one, the pre- and post-test control group. Take note of this one, the R, meaning merong random assignment. So mag-random assignment ka, may samples ka na ilalagay sa control group, meron kang samples na ilalagay sa experimental group. And then magkakandak ka ng pre-test and post-test. So yun siya. Pag-state nito sa ano nyo, sa research design is ganito. This study will utilize a quantitative through experimental research design, specifically pre-test and post-test control group design. Ganun siya pagka-state sa research design portion ng paper ninyo. Next, we have the most sophisticated research design. Most sophisticated through experimental research design, the Solomon for group design. So ganito, meron kang 4 na grupo dyan. Meron pa ring randomization, random assignment sa 4 na grupo. And then ang gagawin, meron kang like this one is the experimental and the control group, no? Pero meron kang grupo na magkakandak ka ng pre-test, bibigyan mo ng treatment, and then magkakandak ka ng post-test. And then you have another group na magkakandak ka ng pre-test here, pero walang treatment. X is the treatment. Walang treatment, and then you will have the post-test. And then on the third group, walang pre-test, diretso ka magbibigay ng treatment, pero magkakandak ka ng post-test. And then the last one, no pre-test, no treatment, post-test na diretso. We call it the Solomon for group design. So medyo complicated, sophisticated, and ito talaga yung highest level na experimental research design. Per class, pwede nyo din itong gawin. Through experimental research design pa rin ito. Pero post-test only control group. So do not forget the random assignment. Pero meron kang grupo na bibigyan ng treatment and then diretso na siya post-test. Wala kang pre-test na gagawin. And then meron kang control group. So hindi mo siya bibigyan ng treatment. And then magkakandak ka ng post-test. Pero kung class, may pre-test ka talaga, like you want to know the creatinine level before giving the intervention, we call it pre-test. Kasi wala ka pang binigay na treatment. Pre-test yan siya. Tapos magbibigay ka ng treatment. After the treatment, kukunin mo na naman yung creatinine level. So post-test na yon. So kapag ka ganun yung gagawin nyo sa experiment ninyo, your study will fall under this one, the pre- and post-test control group. Pero, pag ang gagawin nyo lang is bibigyan nyo ng treatment and then automatic ka na magte-test, post-test na yung mangyayari doon. So, dito lang siya sa post-test only control group. Questions about the true experimental research design? Wala.
Ma'am?
Yes?
Ma'am, kung i-compare mo lang yung levels niya, ma'am, mahulog pa rin siya dyan sa pre and post.
What do you mean i-compare ang levels?
Like, for example, ma'am, i-check pa man namin if yung magawa namin na experimental group is maggana good siya, ma'am, if mag-separate siya. Kasi kung if ever na hindi mag-separate, bali hindi namin magawa yung sa creatinine levels. Ganun good, ma'am.
Okay. So meron kayong sample and then magbigay kayo intervention. Tapos titingnan nyo kung mag-separate.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that is post-test only control group. Kasi wala ka mang gagawin before the intervention. Diretso ka man intervention tapos itetest nyo kung nag-separate ba or wala. So that is called again post-test only. Ayan. Pero pag nag-separate sila, Angel, pag nag-separate sila tapos magkakanda kayo ng creatinine testing, depende sa inyo kung mag-test kayo creatinine before giving the So, bale, sa research design ninyo, specify nyo talaga. Itong post-test only is for the separation of the serum. And then, the pre-test and post-test doon sa gagamitin nyo siya na design doon if ever magkakanda kayo ng testing sa creatinine level.
Okay po, ma'am.
Okay. Pag mag-pre-test kayo ha, ang pre-test gagawin kapag wala ka pang treatment na ibibigay. So kung dalawa talaga ang inyong gagamitin, you have to write that sa research design. And then specify nyo para saan itong design na ito, itong another design naman para sa anong testing. Pwede yun siya. Kasi
Okay,
marami kayong gagawin sa inyong experiment.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anything else? Wala na? Okay, sa quasi-experimental design class, actually almost the same thing with the experimental design, na wala lang yung randomization, and at the same time, meron tayong tinatawag na time series experiment. Like wala kang positive control, you will just have the negative control, and then ang gagawin mo lang ay time series. So you will have to set time. Like after an hour, i-check mo kung may pagbabago ba na nangyari. And then after 2 hours, mag-check ka na naman ulit. May nangyari ba or wala sa ginagawa mo na experiment. So merong time series. Kapag ka ganito class, hindi siya true experimental research design. We call it quasi-experimental research design. So that's all for the experimental, and ito yung last under sa quantitative. Ang next one is called mixed method. So I'm not really sure if meron tayong research sa medtech na mixed method research. So kapag mixed method, ipaghahalo natin si quali and si quanti. So dalawa yung inyong magiging result. Meron kayong quali na data, meron ding quanti na data. So 'di ba pag quali na data, wala kang numbers dyan, purely words. And kapag ka may numbers, mahuhulog siya sa quanti. But under sa mixed method research class, meron tayong 3 types. We have the convergent parallel, the explanatory sequential, and exploratory sequential. So pag ang inyong mixed method research is under sa convergent parallel, ang ginagawa dito is separately you will collect the quali and the quanti pero at the same time. Meaning sabay mo sila kukunin. But they are independent. Independent yung result ni quanti, independent yung result ni quali. But you will give prioritization to the both of them equally. Meaning, importante yung quali na data, importante din yung quanti mo na data. And then, independent yung analysis natin sa both of them. Maghahalo lang sila doon na sa overall interpretation. And, hahanapin mo ngayon yung pagkakaiba sa results mo sa quanti and sa quali, kung may pagkakaiba or yung similarity nila, or kung may relationship ba between the results ng inyong quali and quanti na data. So, bale, ito yung schematic diagram natin kapag ang iyong mixed method design ay convergent parallel. So again, at the same time, i-collect mo si quali, meaning mag-i-interview ka sa respondents mo, and magko-collect ka din ng quantitative mo na data. So, pwede siyang through a questionnaire. Pwede naman yon. So, after that, i-interpret mo sila and hahanapin mo yung point of interface. Meaning, i-compare mo kung meron ba silang similarities or meron ba silang differences. And then, pwede mo ding tingnan kung meron bang relationship yung nakuha mong quali na data and quanti na data. And then, you will have the overall interpretation. So, overall interpretation ng iyong data sa last part. So, pagsasamahin mo pa rin sila. Yun lang yung sa convergent parallel. Pag sinabi mo namang explanatory sequential, so meron tayong sequence na gagawin dito. Ano yung gagawin kapag ka-explanatory sequential? Two-phase design ito, and then i-collect mo muna si quantitative na data. Again, mauuna si quanti. Tapos, after mo ma-collect si quanti, mag-collect ka ng quali. And ang result mo sa quali ay actually gagamitin mo to explain your result sa quantitative na data. So actually, your priority here is the quanti. Again, sa explanatory sequential, quanti yung priority natin. And then pag if titingnan natin yung quanti natin na result, if meron tayo kasing hindi maintindihan sa result natin sa quanti, that's the time magko-collect tayo ng quali. Interviewin natin yung mga respondents natin. Bakit ganito yung result nila sa quanti mo na data? Like, bakit mataas masyado yung level ng understanding nila, level of knowledge, pero yung level of yung practice nila hindi gaanong mataas. So, kung hindi mo yun siya ma-explain, pwede ka collect ng quali, interviewin mo sila, bakit ganon. So, if your study like, for example, you want to know their practices or knowledge and practices pagdating sa COVID. So, mag-collect ka, through a questionnaire, ipa-rate mo sila. Ano ba yung level of knowledge nila sa COVID? So, titingnan mo ngayon, mataas yung level of knowledge nila. Alam nila ano ang COVID, alam nila anong effect nito, alam nila ano yung mga symptoms, mga signs and symptoms. Tapos pagdating doon sa practices, di ba we have the social distancing. Meron tayong mga ginagawa para hindi magkaroon ng anong tawag dyan? Yung mag-spread na yung virus. So pagdating doon sa practices, nakita niyo yung result, yung level ng kanilang practice or yung level ng kanilang attitude is mababa. So, yun, kung gusto mo malaman ano yung explanation, susundan mo siya ng collection ng qualitative data. Magse-select ka ng mga taong pwede mong interviewin and i-ask mo sila. So, bakit kaya knowledgeable sila masyado? Pero bakit yung knowledge nila hindi nila na-apply sa practices? So, that's explanatory sequential. So, ganito yung magiging schematic diagram natin. Ko-collect natin again si quanti, and then magfa-follow up tayo, magagawa tayo ng follow-up questions, and that's the time magko-collect tayo ng qualitative na data, and then we will have the interpretation. Again, we call it explanatory sequential. The last type, this one is an example actually of an explanatory na research design. So we have here, supposedly, I am conducting a general social survey of caregivers' attitudes toward the elderly population. So we have the caregivers, and then I want to know their attitude about the elderly population. So quanti na data first. So as a result of the findings from the quantitative study, I note the high degree of caregiver stereotyping of the elderly population. So meron tayong stereotyping na mataas yung level ng stereotyping ng mga caregivers natin, especially with regards to issues of race and gender. So, I may decide on the basis of these findings na magkakandak ako ng in-depth study to explore caregiver stereotypical attitudes by focusing specifically on caregivers employed in nursing home. So, dito napapasok si quali data. So, my focus of qualitative inquiry is sparked directly from the survey's findings. So the researcher conducts a quanti study first para ma-examine yung result as a way of generating new research questions. So magkakaroon ng new research questions based sa result ng quanti na study, and i-address ko yung pagpa-follow up through conducting a follow-up qualitative study. So ma-fall yan siya under sa explanatory sequential research design. Kapag kabaliktad class, it is under exploratory sequential. Again, kapag kabaliktad, exploratory sequential ang tawag. Anong ibig sabihin ko sa baliktad? Sa study na ito, mauunang kukunin yung quali na data before ka mag-quanti. So, other names sa exploratory sequential is instrument development, research, design. So, ang purpose actually is to generalize qualitative findings to a larger sample. So, ano yung mga reasons bakit tayo nagkakandak ng exploratory sequential design? First, if the instrument are not available. Ang ibig sabihin ng instrument class, ito yung like mga questionnaire, like wala kang mahanap talaga na questionnaire for you to conduct your quanti na study. So, ang gagawin mo, mag-quali ka muna, mag-i-interview ka muna para magkaroon ka ng idea paano mo gagawin yung iyong questionnaire. Kaya we have here instrument development design. Another thing, if hindi mo alam yung mga variables mo, so, mag-i-interview ka muna para magkaroon ka ng knowledge. Ano ba dapat yung mga variables na gagamitin ko sa study na ito? And kapag wala kang mahanap na theory or principles, concepts na pwede mong gagamitin as a guide for you to conduct the study. So, ito yung schematic diagram niya. Quali muna, and then yung result ng quali gagamitin para makabuo ka ng research instrument or questionnaire para makolect mo yung quantitative mo na data. And then, ayun, gagamitin mo na yung mga results for the interpretation. So we have here an example. Actually, this is a research question or a statement of the problem na mag-fall siya under sa exploratory sequential design. So we have here comparing the practices of rural and urban communities' attitude towards COVID-19. So this is the first question. What are the practices of rural and urban settlers to control the transmission of COVID-19? Ano to siya? This is a question that will give you qualitative data. So gagawin mo muna siya kasi hindi mo kasi alam ano yung mga practices nila. So hindi ka makakabuo ng questionnaire pag hindi mo alam ano yung mga practices ng mga tao doon sa rural areas and ang mga practices ng mga tao sa urban na areas. So pag after magkanda ka ng interview, alam mo na yung mga practices nila, makakagawa ka na ng questionnaire and ma-answer mo na itong second question. Is there a significant difference in the level of practices of rural and urban settlers to control the transmission of COVID-19? So yun. This one now is a quanti. Quanti na siya na question. Hindi mo din kasi mako-compare kung quali lang. Kung words lang class, words lang lahat, nag-interview ka lang, wala kang point of comparison. So, kailangan natin siya i-quantify. Kaya after sa quali, meron kang quanti. Ita-transform mo siya into mathematical or statistical model. Thus, the number 2 question. Questions, class? So, we are done with the research design. Wala? Do you have questions? So, ang gagawin natin, let's take a 10 minutes break first. CR break, water break, lahat ng klaseng break. And then after 10 minutes, I will give you an example on how to do the research methodology. And then we will discuss other parts of the research methodology. So, break muna 10 minutes, be back at 9:48. Okay. So this one is an example of an IMRAD format of research ha. So I hope you will take note paano natin gagawin. So we have here the running page and then after that the page number. Actually, on the first page of every portion of the research, actually hindi dapat makita yung page number. So that is not page 1 ha, it's not page 1. You have the page 2 here automatically, pero 1 should not be seen on the first page. Again, we have the running ahead here, and then we have the introduction. So please do not forget that the introduction should not be very long. You should summarize it, and then other details can be transferred into the RRL section. Yan, we have the introduction. And then afterwards, you will have the statement of the problem. Actually, after the statement of the problem, you have the hypothesis if ever it's applicable in your study. So this study does not have a hypothesis. Wala itong hypothesis. Magkakaroon ka lang ng hypothesis class kapag meron kang inferential statistics na question sa iyong statement of the problem, like asking is there a significant difference or asking if there is a significant relationship sa mga variables niyo. Ito kasi wala, excuse me. And then you have here the significance of the study. So take note na doon sa discussion ko ng APA format, balik tayo. Itong introduction is heading level 1. And then the statement of the problem. The statement of the problem. And then we have the significance of the study. It's heading level 2. And then ito, pharmacy students, faculty, researcher, higher education institutions. Ito na yung heading level 3. So kaya dapat naka-indent na siya, naka-bold period, and then followed by the text. Ayan. Then you have the theoretical framework and then the conceptual framework. Lang sa baba. The scope and the limitations and the review of related literature. Yan, this is how you do the introduction part using the IMRAD format. Tapos, since pag mag-revise na kayo ng inyong introduction, gagawin nyo na din yung next part, the research methodology. So this is how you do it. Take note that it should be on the next page. Ayan, wait. Hindi ko natabunan yung page number. So kailangan nakatabon talaga ang page number ng every first page of each section of the research. So since this is the first page of the methodology, so dapat hindi mo makita dyan yung iyong page number. Pero automatic, that will be page number 12. Ayan. So we have methodology and then we have the research design. So ito ang nakalagay dito. We have research designs are procedures for collecting, analyzing, interpreting, and reporting data in research studies. So this study will utilize a mixed method design. So mixed method ito na study, specifically the convergent parallel. So na-mention natin a while ago what is a convergent parallel design. So kailangan meron kayong citations kung saan nyo kinuha yung meaning ng like convergent parallel, anong meaning ng quali, anong meaning ng quanti. Kasi i-ano mo siya, i-explain mo, bakit mo nasabi na yung research na ginagawa mo ay mixed method yung gagamitin na research design and bakit convergent parallel design. Ganon. That's the first part. Yun pa lang yung na-discuss ko. Medyo mahaba kasi we have different types of research design. Kaya medyo mahaba yung discussion. But after research design, you will have the research local, the respondents of the study, sampling procedure. But I'll be discussing it ngayon. So balik tayo doon sa ating discussion. You have questions sa format class? You may review this para meron kayong masundan sa format. Okay. So tapos na tayo sa research design. Let's move on sa another portion ng methodology. We call it research local. So pag sinabing research local, it's actually the area, the venue, or the site wherein you will be conducting your study. So you should properly identify it kung saan nyo talaga ikakandak ang study. Now, if the area or the site of your study is an institution, you really have to describe that institution, including a brief history of it, and you have to include the vision, mission, and other goals and objective of that institution. So, example, if you will be conducting your studies sa Jensen Doctors, GSD MSFI, you have to state in your research local that you have to conduct it there. And then you have to include a brief history of GSD MSFI, how was it established, and you have also to include the current vision and mission of the school. So, yun yung research local. Now, if your research local is the Jensen Doctors Hospital, so the GSDH, you will also have to include a brief history of the hospital together with its mission and vision. Yun yung research local natin. But when it comes to experimental research class, sa experimental research, marami kasi tayong research local. First, kapag you will use a plant sample, kailangan mo i-mention saan mo kukunin yung plant mo. May nabasa ako na research study na experimental siya. Plus, yung plant material nyo, hindi nyo siya pwedeng kukunin basta-basta sa public market lang. I mean, sa palengke. Kasi sa research, you really have to know the exact place saan yan, tinanim yung plant na yan. Kailangan specific. So kapag wala kayong makitang farm, na doon nyo kukunin yung plant material nyo and then wala na talaga kayong ibang choice kundi bumili sa public market, you have to ask the vendor saan niya yon kinuha ang plant material nyo. Kasi class, different places ng pinagtaniman ng plant natin, different din DNA makeup niyan. Yung genetic makeup ng plant may pagkakaiba. So magkakaroon din siya ng variation when it comes to the result of the study. Kaya it is very important to identify specifically saan siya banda tinanim yung plant material ninyo. At the same time, you have to make sure na isang source lang yan siya. So for example, kumuha kayo ng plant ngayon, tapos biglang naubos, hindi pa kayo tapos sa experiment ninyo, and then kukuha na naman kayo ng panibago, and since hindi nyo na makita yung original source nyo, kukuha kayo sa another source. So actually, that's a big no sa research. Kasi again, may genetic variation na pag sa ibang source mo na naman siya kunin. So sa start pa lang ng research class, you have to make sure na yung mapipili nyo na source will be enough para doon sa kabuuan ng study ninyo. That's for the plant material. So, other things kapag experimental, that's number one, saan yung kukunin yung plant nyo. Kung meron kayong animals na gagamitin, then another place na naman yon. Saan nyo na naman kukunin yung animals ninyo. So, kailangan sa animals naman, sa experimental research is isang source lang din. I mean, isang parent lang. Kailangan yung mga, kung daga yan siya, dapat ma-identify na ito silang lahat galing sa isang parent lang para makakasigurado tayo sa genetic makeup na pareho sila. Kasi again, meron talaga yung differences sa result yung genetic makeup ng animals. So, isang source lang din. Kailangan ma-identify yun siya. So, meron tayong mga accredited na mga breeders ng ating mga animals. So, may mga accredited breeders tayo sa DOST and sa PITAC, yung nagbe-breed talaga sila ng mice or ng rats. So, may difference yan ha, yung mice yung maliit, yung rats yung malaki. And then, meron ding nag-breed ng rabbits or other animals that you need for your study. As long as when you conduct it, you have to make sure na you only have one source para to avoid genetic variations sa result. And then the third research local is where are you going to conduct the experiment. So, bali tatlo kung yun yung takbo ng study ninyo. Saan nyo siya ikakandak? So, for example, sa MedTech Laboratory of Janssen Doctor. So, that's another research local. But for the descriptive na mga studies and quali na mga studies, kung taga saan yung inyong respondents, like your collection will be in General Santos City, then that will be your research local, the General Santos City. Okay. So your study is about kamote and then you will purchase it sa public market. You have to ask the vendor saan nyo kinuha saan niya kinuha yung kamote na yan ha? Anong place yung pinanggalingan ng kamote na yan? It depends sa needs sa inyong study. You may buy in bulk para to make sure that you only have one source. Kayo naman yung makaka-estimate gaano ba kadami yung kailangan ninyo. Hindi kasi ako knowledgeable when it comes to your study sa serum separator, no? Hindi ko alam kung gaano kadaming kamote yung inyong gagamitin. So, it will be better if you ask your advisor since siya yung mas siya yung mas nakakaalam gaano ba kadami ang gagamitin ninyo. But let me see your procedure first. Ano yung procedure ninyo sa paggawa ng serum separator, and I may have the approximate amount. Gagawin muna natin yung methodology natin. Tingnan natin kung talaga bang 3 to 4 kilos yung kaagad bibilhin ninyo. Let me see your methodology first. Okay? So that is for the research local. And then after the research local class, you will have the respondents of the study. By the way, those na experimental yung research, you don't have respondents of the study. Wala kayong i-interviewin, wala kayong pagbibigyan ng questionnaire para ma-answeran. Therefore, wala kayong respondents of the study. So, sa respondents of the study, ito yung mga descriptive na study and then quali na mga study. So, under this, you really have to identify the respondents of your study. You have to describe them. What are the exclusion and the inclusion criterias? for them to be able to, for them to be selected na maging respondent sa study ninyo. And then you have to include the description of the circumstances under which the respondents preferred. So, example, we have here, this is how you are going to write the respondents of the study na part. So, the respondents of the study were members of the Senior Citizens Association of Cabanatuan City. So the respondents who account for 60% of the SSS retirees only were selected through purposive sampling. So that's the inclusion criteria. Dapat yung 60% ng mga SSS retirees lang yung ma-include doon sa respondents nyo. Aside from that, the respondents will be selected through purposive sampling. So, kailangan din natin i-mention yung sampling technique na gagamitin. Paano natin sila i-choose? Kasi sa kadami-dami, 'di ba? Hindi mo naman lahat i-interviewin 'yon. So, paano mo i-choose yung i-interview mo? So, this time, ang ginamit niya na sampling technique is purposive sampling. So, later, if we still have time, I will also discuss the different sampling techniques, though I believe you have already discussed it sa inyong statistics. I-review lang natin. Another inclusion criteria, so we have here only the respondents who could read and write and who could still attend meetings of the association were counted as samples. Hence, out of 150 samples, 90 were made respondents. So that's how you write the respondents of your study. So, kailangan mo i-mention yung exclusion and inclusion criteria. Ano yung mga criteria mo? Bakit mo sila sinelect? Bakit sila magiging respondent sa study mo? Sino yung mga hindi dapat isali? So, like this one, yun lang yung makasulat and makabasa and maka-attend pa ng meeting. Yun lang yung pwedeng iselect mo. iselect mo sa study mo. So, again, that is respondents of the study. Now, let's discuss population and sample. When you say population, ito yung kabuuan. Like, pag sinabi mong senior citizen, lahat yun na senior citizen. Pag sinabi mong residents of General Santos City, lahat, mabata man yan, matanda, bagong panganak, population mo yun siya. That's the universe of your study, and yung characteristics niyan will be called the parameters or the perfect measurement of its characteristics. So pag sinabi mong ang population mo ay lahat ng first year pharmacy students ng GST MSFI, lahat sila mababae man or malalaki. Or pag sinabi mong yung population mo ay yung mga RadTech faculty or MedTech faculty and doctors, dapat silang lahat. Kung ano yung characteristics nila, yun yung magiging parameters ng study mo. So, meron tayong two kinds of population, the finite and the infinite population. Pag sinabing finite population, ito yung pwede nating makount. Like, pag sinabi nating, lahat ng first year medtech students, makount natin yun. Alam natin ang population ng first year medtech students sa school. Pero pag hindi mo siya makount, that is called infinite population. So like the stars in the sky or the number of pedestrians that will cross the street. Wala naman talaga tayong well-known or exact number doon sa nagko-cross sa street na yon. So it's infinite population. Now, we have the so-called sample. So, ito yung palagi kong sinasabi kanina pa, yung sample mo. So, this is actually a small group taken from your population. They will become representative of your population. Hindi mo kasi hindi kasi required na lahat ng population, lahat ng members ng population mo ay isasali mo doon sa study mo. Meron tayong mga reasons bakit hindi lahat. Dapat sample lang. Dapat representative lang from the population. So ito yon. We have first one, it is very expensive to get the entire population. So remember, kung paano naman kung sinabi mo yung population mo ay residents ng General Santos City. So pila ka ang residents sa General Santos City, no? For example, umabot siya ng milyon. So that will be very expensive for you to interview or to collect data from all the members of the population. At the same time, di ka na makagraduate because it will take a lot of time for you to reach what is the known target as the target population. So, lisod kay dugay kay kamahuman. Kano sa pakamahuman sa pag-interview sa isa ka milyon nga tao. So, kailangan sample lang talaga. And sampling enables us to do some inferences or generalizations about the target population. Kasi yung sample mo, kinuha mo naman siya sa population mo, pwede siyang maging representative and pwede kang makabuo ng generalization doon sa population mo based sa result ng test na ginawa mo sa sample mo. So how are you going to do? These are the steps in sampling. Okay. Kaya yung nag-submit kayo class ng concept paper. Meron ako mga comments doon na bakit ganito karami, bakit 20, bakit meron kayong 1,000, bakit 20 lang? So, kailangan natin yun siya ma-answer sa research kasi meron kasi tayong steps sa pag-identify ng samples class. So, hindi pwedeng basta-basta ka na lang magbigay ng number dyan na 1,000 ang population mo tapos sabihin mo 20 lang talaga ang i-survey ko, ma'am. No, hindi pwede. You have to do sampling techniques. So, we have the steps. We have first identification of the population. You have to first identify ano ba talaga ang gusto mong respondents, mga bata lang, mga tigulang lang, mga residents lang ng Barangay Mabuhay. Kung residents lang ng Barangay Mabuhay, ano ba yung dapat inclusion criteria? Silang lahat ba? Or gusto mo mga bata lang? Or mga babae lang? Or mga millennials lang? Ganon. You really have to identify first your population. After that, that's the time we have to determine the required sample size. Again, we have to determine the required sample size. Actually, this is applicable sa mga descriptive na mga research. Pwede din siya sa experimental na research. Sa quali na research class, hindi naman siya required kasi sa pag-interview, pwede ng 30 katao ang interviewin nyo. Kung hindi naman umabot sa 30, wala tayong magagawa. Pwede din naman. Kasi yung study na pinakita ko a while ago na mixed method. So, may quali ako doon na data. 5 tao lang yung in-interview ko. So, pwede namang ganon pagdating sa quali na research. Pero sa quanti na research, hindi pwedeng basta-basta ka lang magbigay ng numbers kasi hindi siya magiging significant pagdating sa statistics. And then, after mo ma-determine ang required sample size, magse-select tayo ng sample. So, this is how you do the calculation ng sampling size natin. N is equal to capital letter N divided by 1 plus NE squared. This should be squared. So, small letter n is your sample size, and then capital letter N is your population size, and E is margin of error. So, the minimum margin of error is 5%. So, that's 0.05. So, magbibigay tayo ng allowance for error. So, for example, class, ang population ng ang gusto mong respondents, mga students ng Jensen Doctors. So, kung mag-a-ask tayo sa registrar, ilan lahat ang students sa GSD-MSFI, for example, ang nabigay nilang number 850. Population ang tawag dyan. And you are not required to conduct your survey to the whole 850. So, pwede tayong mag-compute ng sample size. So we have n, and then equals sa population size that's 850 divided by 1 plus capital letter N again, so that's 850 times the margin of error. Again, the minimum margin of error is 0.05 squared. So we have 850 divided by, ganito lang siya pag-solve, 1 plus 850 times 0.05 squared. Yes, 2.5 times 10 raised to the negative 3. And then we have here 850. This is 1, sorry. 1. So 1 plus 850 times 2.5 times 10 raised to the power of negative 3. This is 2.125. So dito na lang sa baba, 850 divided by 1 plus 2.125. This is 3.125. So small letter n, your sample size is 850 divided by 3.125 is 272. So this will be your sample size. Out of the 850 students of Janssen Doctors, ang si-survey mo lang ay 272. So that's how you identify your sample size. Do you have questions sa pag-determine ng sample size ninyo? Like pag magkakandak na kayo ng experiment, ng survey ninyo, you have to really compute for this one, ha? Wait lang ha. Let me introduce. I have this, meron tayong software actually. Wait lang. So, ganito. Ayan. So, sa Google, meron tayo actually software. We call it RawSoft Calculator. Ayan, sample size calculator by RawSoft. If hindi mo gustong mag-mano-mano compute ng sample size, you may use this class. Ayan. So, margin of error is still 5%. Therefore, confidence level is 95%. And then, ganito. Excuse me ha. Wait, I'll be back.